Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back in War Thunder kind of, and looking at some unofficial patch notes from of course the main man Mike 10D. This is going to be looking at the economy changes, and it's been nice of him to put it in a spreadsheet for us so we can go through it. But before we get to that, I just want to point something out, which was found on the Discord, you know, the TC hub. If you're not part of it, you can, there's a link in the description to become part of it. We're doing a giveaway right now for Insurgency, the FPS game. It is a Steam code, and it's a wonderful game. It's a game that I've put many hours into, and thank you to Matrix for donating that to give away. But anyway, let's get into the interesting thing. So this was seen on the War Thunder Updates 1.79 video. As you can see, if you look at the protection analysis, you have USA, Germany, the Soviets or USSR, Britain, Japan, China, Italy, and France when it comes to the nations that you can select for protection analysis. Now, a lot of people have speculated that this is due to the fact that it could be that these are the nations which are looking to come in the future. They have talked about 2 brand new tech trees coming out at some point, and it would make sense that China and Italy ground forces are those 2. But then again, this might just be an international server thing that they've created, so they can have a look at all the stuff that they want on Gaijin's end. Just for proof that this was in the video, this is at 8 minutes 22 seconds, and as you can see, it is exactly there on the War Thunder official channel. So just a little bit of speculation there, and it is interesting, but understand this is nothing concrete. It's just something to think about going forward. So yeah, here is the post. There will be a link to it in the description of the video, and in that post, Mike 10D also puts the link to the Microsoft Excel sheet, which is this wonderful thing. Now let's just make sure, yep, everything is lined up wonderfully. We're going to go through this post. It's going to take a while. There's a lot of minute changes, but I think it's worth talking about them because it may affect vehicles in small ways. There are some larger changes when it comes to the Object Nano 6 and the BF-110C7. So yeah, we'll get into them. The first one is the A35B. It's getting a ground multiplier increase from 1 to 2.25. This will make it a hell of a lot easier to grind out. It was one of the painful vehicles for me for France, because of P47s, and also because of the fact that it is a middle-of-the-road machine. It doesn't have enough bombs to be good enough to be used really in air realistic, and also the guns on it are pretty good, but it was a very sluggish plane. It's pretty, well, it has its use in ground realistic, but there are better options out there. It also gets reduced SL cost for its 1,000 and 500 pound bombs, meaning that it will be a little bit cheaper to be able to run this thing, so that's always nice. The Avenger, for its torpedoes, the SL cost is going down by a lot. Now, a lot of people have cogitated that with the release of Naval coming soon, at least in a CBT format, the reason why a lot of torpedoes have gone down in price is to try and promote use of them in the naval forces, and I think this is true. So for the Avenger, they're decreasing. For the B5N2, they're also decreasing by more than half, apart from the second torpedo, which is really good on the B5. And the B7's torpedo is also going down because it's the same one that you find, or at least a very similar one that you find on the B5. The B-34's torpedo is also decreasing by more than half. The Beaufighters is decreasing by a lot. You've got to remember the British torpedoes, especially when it comes to the Wellingtons and the Beaufighters, and also the other, I think it's not the Firefly, it's the Firebrand. All of these torpedoes are an arse to use. They really are. You have to go incredibly slow, you have to go incredibly low, and they're not that fast through the water. So what you're going to end up is them being kind of useless in naval forces, because they're going to be easy targets to hit through the air if they're moving. So the Beaufighter one, the Beaufighter Mark 21, which did get an updated cockpit, I would definitely say go and have a look. It's a user-made one. It is absolutely stonking beautiful. The Mark 6C and the Mark 10 also get them all dropped, and all the torpedoes from them, I'm pretty sure, exactly the same, so it makes sense to standardize the costs across the board. Same with the Beaufort, the Mark 8, its torpedo is going down to 80. So they're making it incredibly profitable to use these things. They're trying to promote them for naval forces. Since Britain doesn't really get on a lot of maps which have, naval around it, it is obviously designed for naval forces. The BF-109 G10, this is some ammunition changes. So the night fighter's belt for the 30mm, so that's the MK-108s that it has. These are also decreasing in max ammo, but increasing in SL costs. Now, what you may have noticed is the MK-108's doing an insane amount of damage right now. And also the AN M3s from the Americans. Those are the two that I've tested to a decent amount, and they're both annihilating things. So when it comes to the BF-109 G10, it's getting a little bit less ammo with its extra guns, and also, or at least for the Night Fighter's belt and the Stealth Attack belt, but it is increasing in SL costs. Now, will this SL cost really make that much of a difference? I don't really think so, but it is something to think about when you're trying to annihilate an enemy. It will mean that your profits are slightly lower than they were before. The MK-108 Universal belt is also going down in ammo, and the SL cost is increasing. I'm wondering if that's for the default belt as well. I'm sure it is, since all the others are getting decreased, but obviously the default belt for any round is free in the game. The G14 is getting the same treatment, exactly the same actually, apart from the SL cost. The SL cost for the 30mm for Night Fighter ammunition and also Universal is going up, but to 110, so it's slightly cheaper than on the G10. I wonder if this is to slightly promote the G14. I'm not exactly sure if a lot of people just kind of skip that one since it's in a folder and it's one of the last ones in a folder, so maybe they're slowly trying to promote it by 20 silver lines difference, but I highly doubt it. It's kind of weird how that's not standardized. The BF-109 G14 AS, this is the Italian BF-109, that is also going the same price as the G14, so they're standardizing that across the board. Now we're into our first major change. This is the BF-110C7. As you can see, there is quite a lot of data here. So the average reward has been increased in this aircraft across all game modes. That's AB, RB, and SB, and it seems to have been increased by about ×2, the multiplier ×2. Slightly, slightly a bit more than ×2, so maybe 2.1, 2.2, but overall it's nice anyway. The battle time reward has also been increased by a lot. Once again, around about 1.5 to 2, so flying this thing will be a lot more profitable for you going forward. The BR of it has been standardized across all game modes to be 3, so therefore they have compensated by giving it a up BR by giving it more Silver Lions reward and also some RB reward. As you can see, the multiplier has gone from 1 to 2. Now, this is either to promote people using it to research the new BF-110s, or it's just there to give it a place in the game, because a lot of people, I'm sure, will look at this aircraft and be like, well, why don't I take a BF-109 or a Focke-Wulf over it? Well, this is kind of why, to get some more rewards out of it. The repair cost, though, has been increased by quite a lot. Once again, they've increased the rewards by 2, but they've also increased the repair cost by around about 2. So you've got to be careful of that when you are flying this thing out. It's one of those things. I like the change because it promotes skill again. It promotes that if you are a good player, or if you play this thing well even, you get rewarded more. But if you are struggling with it, then you will get rewarded less. I think that's a great way of doing it when it comes to these aircraft. And overall, you still should be making Silver Lions, even if the repair cost has increased. Because as you can see, the average RB reward is 4,000, where the average repair cost, or the repair cost, is 2,616. And that's the maximum repair cost, remember. That's not always the repair cost you're going to hit. So I think that's nice. One of the interesting things is if we have a look at AB repair time, they've increased it by a lot. Then again, you generally don't have to repair in AB unless you have to land on an airfield in AB. It takes up a lot of your time, so a lot of people this won't really, it doesn't really matter too much. When it comes to RB repair time, it has increased a lot. Actually, this might be to do with this might be to do with in the hangar. So if it is to do with in the hangar, then that means that it's going to take longer to be able to repair these things after they've been critically damaged in a match. So they've increased it by a hell of a lot, and for that basically means that what's going to happen is you're going to have to be forced to pay more for the repair cost over time in the hangar. This will affect a few players. By the way, if you have auto repair on, I would highly recommend you to turn it off, because that's one of the big ways to save Silver Lions. Because if there's no point if you're logging off for a night to repair a vehicle, you can wait until the next morning and it will be cheaper for you to repair. The AB repair time for no crew, RB and SB, have all increased by a little bit of an increment. So yeah, it seems like they've increased the repair cost, increased the repair time as well, but they've also increased the reward. So all of it seems to balance out to me. The repair time for SB has also increased. The RP cost has gone up by quite a lot. So for new players trying to get into this aircraft, I wouldn't worry too much about the RP cost. It's 11,000. If you're playing RB, that's, let's say, 2,000 a match. Of research, that's like 1 kill and a win or a loss if you're using premium or non-premium. So you're looking at, what's that, around 6 games to be able to get this in RB. In AB, of course, it'll take you a little bit longer, but still, it's only going to be around about 11 to 15 matches to get this machine. And once you have it, you can use it to grind out the other BF-110s and have a pretty good time with it. It's a fun aircraft, the BF-110C7. I've enjoyed all 3 of them that have been added to the game recently. If only the C7 is just a, an updated model, it's still really good. So overall, for me, when I look at it, 11,000 is completely fine, especially with the BR increase that it's got. The reward multiplier for Silver Lions, AB, RB, and SB have all gone up by a lot. As you can see, the AB one has gone up by about 2, the RB one has gone up by about 2.2, and the SB one maybe about 2.5, 2.7, something like that. It's nearly 3, to be honest. So that's really good. The expert crew cost has increased by a hell of a lot. So that is something to take into account. A lot of people have been talking about the cost of experting crews going through the roof, and it seems like that is something that's definitely happening across the board, which is a bit of an issue in my opinion. I think the expert crews are in a fine place where they were. You had to play a lot of matches to get expert crews, and now you have to play even more in a specific vehicle. So I'm not sure. I feel like that should have been left the same. So yeah, crew expert cost through the roof. Crew ace cost is also like about 1.5 or 1.8 times. And then the crew ace cost GE has also increased. A lot of these low tier vehicles, unless you really like them, there's not really much point in getting the ace crew or even an expert crew. When you get to like rank 4 or 5, I think it's definitely something you should look into. But there are better ways to spend your GE when it comes to these vehicles instead of getting ace costs, because over time you'll get it anyway if you are playing the vehicle a lot and you enjoy it. So therefore I wouldn't worry too much about it. It is 250 GE though to do it, so it has increased by a little bit, and once again I disagree with this decision. The crew train cost has also increased by a ridiculous amount, 11,000, and the SL cost for the vehicle has also increased by a ridiculous amount. We're talking about about 6 times the cost of this vehicle. Now, overall, yes, you will make more with this vehicle, but the time it takes you to pay back that 38,000. Let's say you get average RB rewards, 4,000, and this is if you never die. So 4,000, 38,000 is what? It's about 9.5 when we 4,000 to 38,000. So it'll take you 9.5 matches without dying with average RB reward to be able to pay for this vehicle. Now obviously that is the best scenario when we look at the averages, and overall that just seems a little bit too much for me, especially when in those 6 matches you will have probably moved on to the next vehicle, which will also have higher SL costs. So in effect, unless you play this vehicle a lot, you're not going to be able to recoup that cost And yeah, and especially with the train costs lumped into it, that's what, 49,000. So you're looking at what, 12 games there. Yeah, I don't like that. I really don't. I think maybe increase it by a little bit, but not by 6 times. That seems kind of ridiculous to me. It has some new weapon upgrades. So basically for the turret, that means that you get increased accuracy on the turret. The BF-110 turret's pretty useless, to be honest, overall. If somebody's on you, behind you, you're not going to have a good time. It's as simple as that. And then when we look at some of the modifications, the modifications across the board have increased in SL cost. They have also increased in RP cost. I mean, this makes sense because it's being up-BR'd, especially from 2.3 to 3.0, and also the GE costs are being increased as well. So it's going to take you more time to get these, and it means that for a new player who hasn't modified this thing out, I think that's completely fine, especially with the higher BR, and also if you're trying to get the other BF-110s, you're still going to be grinding through this thing while you're playing to get the other ones. The increase in RP is not that much when it comes to it, but you've got to remember that these BF-110s do have a lot of modifications, so it's going to take quite a long time to be able to get it all done. And yeah, across the board it's increased, whether it be GE, RP or SL. I would definitely say watch out for the Silver Lions cost. The cost for these modifications is kind of insane to me. 1,500 for a cover. Like, just make sure you're not draining your bank account too much with this, and never use GE to get these modifications. Just play the game, enjoy it. On top of it, the ETC 50s are also going up in SL cost. So overall, you're getting increased rewards, but you're also getting an increased cost of vehicle, increased training cost, and increased modification cost. So I would have to look at all of the calculations and work out if you do well in this machine, can you still make money while you are modding it out and while you're researching other stuff. I think it's still definitely possible, but it's definitely something you should watch out for, especially if you're not running premium. If you're running premium and you're doing well, you won't have to worry in this machine. If you are not running premium, and let's say you're doing below average, then make sure that you are keeping on top of the economics, because this is not cheap when it comes to it. I mean, I could do a calculation here. Let's just see. Because I can't see how this is going to be profitable over the first, like, 10 games or 20 games that you play. It seems like they're pushing it, so it's going to be profitable over the time, but it's not going to be profitable for you straight away. So 22,300. Now I could have cocked this up, so just be careful with it. But 22,300 to be able to get all of the modifications that they've changed, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think that's a little bit too high. You're basically talking about overall this vehicle costing 49,069, around about 70 grand to be able to do. Maybe it isn't that much, but it just seems like a lot, you know? And that's also with the increase of cost of belts and stuff like that. So that's not even taking into calculations all of them. So overall, you're looking at nearly 20 games to be able to pay for everything. And also, on top of that, that's playing averagely. And also, after that, then you'll start making profit. So, I mean, overall, it's not terrible, but it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. The BTD's torpedo is going down by more than half. Wonderful to see. The BRs of the J1 and the J2 are being reduced. I talked about this in another video, so I'll just go past it. I feel like going after the BF-110s is a much better idea right now than the DO217s. So if you are in the position where you're working out what to research, first of all, go down the BF-109 line, and then go down the Focke-Wulf, and then go down the BF-110. Don't worry too much about the DO217s. Just wait for them a little bit later on. The torpedo for the K1 and the M1 have both gone down by 300, so that's nice. On top of this, something that somebody brought up was that The Fritz bomber was used by the K variants of the DO217, so why doesn't it get it in game? The Fritz was used by the K2 and 3 variant of the DO217, not the K1, which is why we don't have it. The AD2, the Torpedo 12H VAR, is going down to 350, so that's rockets and torpedoes, same with the AD4, so that's nice, getting a nice reduced cost on that. The French one is going down as well, so they're basically just bringing down the torpedo, and it's benefiting the rockets as well. The Hellcats, across the board, going down to 200, and also the 5N for the French and the Americans is going down to 200. So once again, making it incredibly profitable, or at least will be once ships come out. If you land one of these torpedoes and you don't die, you're making moolah, right? The issue is not dying, which is going to be the hard part, especially against these destroyers and cruisers that we see. The Bearcats are being slightly reduced in repair cost. I mean, we're talking about 200 here. Not even that, 150, something like that. So it's not gonna... This is obviously done by a robot somewhere. An algorithm, I should say, kind of like the other ones. So the 12.7mm for the Bearcats, it is increasing in price by 10. And then, once again, the repair cost coefficient is going up by a little bit. They are increasing the GE cost of every modification again for the Bearcats. But the research required is going down. No, sorry. So specific ones are going up, and then specific ones are going down. So you just have to make sure to be on top of that. It seems like the majority of them are going down, but stuff like airframe is going up. The GE cost for cover is going down, so is the research. So it will be like certain ranks of modifications will be easier to get, other ones will not be. So that's just something to check while you play the Bearcat. I still think the Bearcat's in a pretty bad place personally, but we'll get into that in a different video. The F8F1B is getting the same treatment, going down by about 150 in repair costs, so it's not going to make a difference. The research, though, for the modifications is going down by a decent amount, so at least for some of them. So for the fuselage repair, it's decreasing. For the ammo belt, it's increasing. For wings repair, decreasing. Let's see, decreasing. Increasing, decreasing. So once again, it's a mixed bag, probably based around what tier, or sorry, what rank of modification you're getting. Now the F8F1B France is very similar. It's going to be exactly the same as the American one, or at least you'd hope it would be. The F9F8, the Cougar, something that hasn't seen a lot of change. It's very sad to see. I like the F9F8. I think it's the most beautiful aircraft in game. I just wish it was useful, and a saber. So repair cost is going down by about 40. Alright, well, okay, it's going down by 10 in AB. Watch out, boys. Holy shit, that's the change that's going to make it meta. Anyway, the Firebrand torpedo is going down again. I would actually make it free. It's so bad, but you know how it is. The D12, as we've talked about before, has gone down in BR, same with the D13. I'm not sure, it's kind of weird, because they've put the BRs down, but also they've improved the flight model, and also they've improved the guns. So I'm not sure I would have actually reduced them. What they've done is they've double dipped here. They've made it easier to use, and also they've decreased its BR. So it's going to be interesting to see if they make a comeback, especially the D13. The D12, I mean, they supposedly fixed its elevator. I personally haven't tested it yet, but that seems to be the initial reports. The G4's torpedoes are going down by a decent amount, or at least the first one, so that's good to see. The Baglet Panzer, its max ammo is decreased, which is a bit of an issue. I'm guessing that's for the clip. Maybe it gets more clips now. We will go over the update notes, by the way, at some points as well, so that's something to look forward to. The GE costs of certain things is going down and up, and once again, there's nothing to really say about this. apart from they are slightly changing certain GE costs. The Begleiter Panzer, I think, if you want to, do its GE cost, and if you want to GE through that machine, I wouldn't blame you. It's definitely not meta, it definitely struggles, but played in the right way, it can be alright.